We've got this absolutely gorgeous Fox body Mustang. 5-lug conversion, disc brakes, 17-inch wheels, heads intake cam, but it is missing the most important thing that every Fox body needs, and we're gonna fix that today. All right, so before you even get your car up in the air, since we're gonna be welding on the chassis and using the chassis as a ground, it's a necessity to disconnect the negative battery terminal. So we're gonna start with that. All right, so we're under the car right now, and we're gonna explain to you a little bit about what frame rail connectors do. So we're underneath the Fox body. Now from 79 to 2004, the Mustang is a unibody, which means you do not have a continuous frame rail. That all changed with the S197 in 2005, and it carries on to today with the 2024. So what we have here is your front frame rail, right? Your motor, your K-member, everything's gonna bolt up front here, but then you see it disappears. Then all we've got is sheet metal going all the way back here to your lower torque box, right? That's what we call these on these cars, your lower torque box. All that power, right? Your drive shaft spinning, axles are rotating, your tires are getting traction, are all pushing forward from this point on your lower control arm. So moving your car, all that force is applied directly through here. But you see, once again, your rear frame rail stops right there, sheet metal. So we're gonna try to tie together these two areas, right? And what we do that with is our frame rail connector, and that's what it's doing. It's taking your frame rail and it's connecting it. So it works as one. We start off with 2" by 1.5" 14 gauge material. We're then going to bend it in our jig and reinforce those points where we bend it. That's gonna add some strength to it. What that's going to do is tie together that. You're gonna get rid of squeaks. You're gonna get rid of rattles. It is absolutely a must for any 7904 Mustang, whether you just daily drive it, you cruise, you want it to last, right? Frame rail connectors are absolutely the first mod you should do. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start off by prepping the areas, and we'll show you how. Now, this Fox body is in pretty good shape. You can see some witness marks of where people have put a floor jack underneath here. Big no-no. Never jack your Fox body up by this front frame rail. It'll actually start to crush and bend. So you always want to jack off of the K-member or the rear axle in the back. But what we've done here is this car has been repainted. You see we got some overspray underneath it. We're gonna go ahead and grind off that paint, because anytime you're welding, you want to go from clean metal to clean metal. You don't want to be welding over paint. You're just not going to get structurally as good of a weld. So we're going to clean up some areas up here, and then we're going to move to the back. And now it's kind of a coincidence here. We've got two other Fox chassis Mustangs here at the shop. this one being a Fox body coupe. But not all frame rails are created equal, right? We talked about the Steeda ones, 2 inches, 1.5 inch, 14 gauge. This one comes in at only 1.5 inches and 1 inch tall, no rear torque box braces, and no additional bracing to help you weld it to the frame rail. Yes, it's got the cross brace in it, but once again, it doesn't attach to the back here. I mean, we could dissect and say how much different it is, but no torque box braces, no brackets to help grab onto the frame rail, so they're just not created equal. So even the factory realizes these cars need frame rail connectors. This is a convertible model, so it's a bolt-in design, but it is tying together the front and rear subframe connector. But adding a Steeda full-length subframe connector not only makes it much longer, it's going to be a Welding design. Once again, cross brace, torque box braces. It's going to be much better than this convertible. It's why it's part of his build list. So we got everything cleaned up. You weld on the rear torque box braces first, then you want to get your seat bracket. What this does is help spread the load, right? You're going from the rear frame rail to the front. This is going to help tie in the rear bolts for your seat in your car. So get it all welded nicely. You can see it bends. It goes with the contour of the floor. This is considered a full-length frame rail connector. Not to be confused with a jacking rail. Like I mentioned earlier, you don't want to jack from this, because you still have soft sheet metal above it. So use your other jacking points, but this is gonna tie together the front and the back. Like I said, your seat brace here, we're gonna move to the other side. This is gonna make a huge difference in the way this car rides, handles, squeaks, rattles, you name it. It's also very important, you wanna make sure you do this on a drive-on lift, right? We talked about having 2 frame rails. They're not connected. If you were to hang this on a 2-post lift, the car is actually hanging like this. We've had customers come in before where they said, hey, I put on frame rail connectors, my door doesn't want to close. Well, if you're hanging it from a 2-point lift and the car bends and you weld this frame rail connector on, you are going to have a hard time closing your door in some applications. So make sure you have a nice drive-on lift, get the majority of it all welded up, then we can take it over to the 2 posts, hit the outside, we'll have more clearance, but let's get working on this other side. All right, so we're over here on a 2-post lift. Like we said, do 90% of the welding on a drive-on lift, right? You don't want the body to sag while you're welding this up. So we got rid of the 2-post lift. Now you can hit some of these outside welds a lot easier than on the drive-on lift. One thing to keep in mind, you do have these fuel lines and your evap lines running the length of the frame rail. So you're gonna wanna pry those back, put in a couple stitch welds, right? Move it around, keep them off. You don't wanna heat them up. It's fuel, right? You don't want to start a fire or anything like that. It's a pretty simple job for an experienced welder, but you're looking at roughly about 2 hours to get these on your car. But like I said, it's going to eliminate squeaks and rattles. Any 79 to 04 Mustang absolutely needs these. Now we offer the frame rail connectors bare. That's because there's a lot of welding that needs to be done on them. Now, when you're done welding them, we recommend spraying them with some Rust-Oleum paint, right? It's gonna help prevent rust or any premature wear on the frame rail connectors themselves. This is pickled and oiled material, so wipe it down real good. Might wanna hit it with a Scotch-Brite pad, but final step would be to let this cool off, clean up the rails real good, and just hit them with some Rust-Oleum so they last a long time. So as you can see, there's a large gap between your front frame rail and your rear frame rail on a Fox chassis. That goes all the way from 1979 to 2004 until Ford changed the chassis with the S197 in 2005. But with that huge gap and nothing but sheet metal in between, there is a lot of flexing and twisting going on, especially when you got heads intake cam. Maybe you put a stroker motor, maybe a Vortec on it, maybe you're even coyote swapping these things. The first thing you gotta do is put on a set of frame rail connectors. They will pay for themselves by eliminating the squeaks, the rattles. It's going to handle better. Think about it. When you throw this car into a turn, when the front's going around the corner, there is a lot of twisting going on in that chassis. Well, these frame rail connectors, they really help eliminate that. Add in the cross brace and the torque box reinforcement plates. It's a no-brainer. It's like two kits in one. Now, you do want to get it installed by a professional welder, but like I said, it's going to make all the difference in the world on these older cars. So hit like, subscribe, follow us on our TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, our YouTube channel. And remember the most important thing at the end of the day, Steeda, where speed matters.